Alex, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Really excited to talk to you. Huge fan of obviously John Wick and all of these films that you've made over the course of your career.
Thanks,
My
man.
my big question from a stunt perspective, what do you feel is more important for the stunt to be bold and impressive and over the top, or to be realistic and feel like we're seeing something that could have actually happened? Did that guy actually get hurt?
Wow, I don't think you can answer that. I think it depends on the story and the film you're making. Tonally, I've been lucky. Like even let's look at John Wick, since we're talking about John Wick, right? The fantastical gunplay that we came up with, gun fu, is still slightly heightened and unrealistic, to the
Hmm.
point where in subsequent sequels, now they're blocking with bulletproof jackets and like to keep up the choreography crazy level, you have to, put suspend disbelief and have fun and immerse yourself in it. And then, the Matrix movies, like, you plug something into the back of your head and all of a sudden, kung fu and everybody fights with kung fu and everyone's flying all over the room. So I I lean into having things heightened for the movie itself and like help immerse the audience in the journey of the characters, the world that we're creating, and like and it should be in line with that and should be an extension of that. There's just it's very rare that you see something that's truly authentic violence in a film,
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
action movies, it's always sort of slight. The Bourne movies, yeah. I mean, found object choreography that I've done extensively. Still, it doesn't. Navy SEALs don't really use that stuff, but you
Right.
believe it more, it's grounded, and it feels real, but it's not really real. And so, putting two people fighters in a cage, you can watch MMA and watch real combat. And I think what's fun about movies is we can give you different versions of it and like have elevations of it and colors of it. And so I think it's more important that it fits the story and that you're expanding people's minds with it and having fun with the world,
And I
which
think
Wick
that it,
does so well, which Chad has done in the last three movies, like keeps
yeah.
exponentially raising the bar for the Wick world and like the rules of that action. It's insane.
Well, and for yourself, having been involved with this from the beginning, the genesis of this, it's kind of become a genre unto itself. And, The Matrix did this where everybody was emulating The Matrix after a while. And now it feels like all these movies carry that it's John Wick-esque, or there's elements of John Wick to it. So from when you were making that movie, did you feel that you were all making something that was going to be a game changer in terms of what action cinema was at that point?
I don't think we ever saw it to be a game changer in the respect that, it was a household name. And now every script that comes across my desk says, and John Wick style action here, and you're like, I know what that is, guys. The But we did know as choreographers for a long time, as action directors for a long time, and as genre fans, the stuff we were brewing, we really liked. And for some reason, we'd pitched it on multiple filmmakers for their projects, and they weren't buying it. And we are
Hmm.
just like, man, when we're in this director's seat, like we're gonna unleash this on the world, and we knew genre fans were gonna like it. Um, and so there was some confidence because we would show people the stunt viz that we did with the stunt guys, and you'd be like, see, that shit's sick, right? And everyone would be like, why isn't that in a movie? And I'm like, I know, why isn't it in a movie? And so when we got to put it in the movie, I think we had a lot of confidence in it. But I don't think we thought it would, change the way, become a household sort of name for a type of action.
And there was always from the beginning with this movie and then with Atomic Blonde when you made that right after, and there was all that talk of could there be a crossover? Was that ever realistically a possibility of happening?
I don't think there was too much traction on it, except, in our fantasies. I think, they're both really fun um, characters that we were fortunate enough to create with Keanu and Charlize. Um, but the worlds are really ultimately very different. And, that was just this spy genre, even though it was slightly heightened and stylized. Wick became its thing. That underworld of Wick is like so mythological that it wasn't like you could combine them. And then, man, Hollywood's is full of rights issues. Let me tell you, like, so to get all the rights on one side and all the rights on the other side to want to agree to rights, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it seems
that
like
was never
it
going to happen.
it seems like it'd be a mess kind of trying to get all that worked out, but you've kind of
Yeah,
you've stayed
it's been a
involved.
mess getting the no, it's been a mess getting the seat. We really wanted to do a sequel, but I think, the ultimately the rights with Atomic were hard to unravel, and like where it was going to end up, and then it went different places, and it's just like too many people involved, and the thing gets top heavy.
So because you've been involved from a producer capacity with John Wick and executive producer, you've kind of seen where the whole mythology has gone. Is it something that you've ever thought of coming back and either directing another entry, whether it be a spin-off or something tangential to the main series?
I will never say never. Like I love the Wick world so much, and I love what um the character that we helped create with Keanu, and that Chad and my collaboration created. And I really love and appreciate as a fan where Chad has taken that. So yes, I would dive in if it was the right story and I was the right filmmaker for it. Um, but I'm just not in the day to day anymore in Wick. It's really Chad's world. And um, so I think it would have to be more of a, as Chad's, mastering this universe, he knows where to find me. He's one of my best friends. So he could, hey man, I got this idea. But right now, I don't see it in the future, but man, would it be fun? Absolutely. I love it.
Well, when you two collaborated back on the first film, there's so many obviously legendary directing duos that have been out there. How did you kind of parse out who was doing what? Like, how did you figure out, all right, I'm going to direct this, I'm going to do that, you're going to do this?
Well, I think, we had great mentors that were co-directors. We've done a lot of movies with the Wachowskis, and we were both stunt coordinators, co-stunt coordinators, or co-fight coordinators, or even co-second unit directors. And when you watch them delineate the work, there was no like delineation. There wasn't like one person's in charge of the script and then one person's going to talk to the actors. It's just sort of a fluid thing. Like if you felt like giving a note, you just, hey, I'm going to go give Keanu this note. Or it was really, that's the way we operated when we were in that other world in second unit and stunts. Like it was just a flow. There was no delineation, and the same thing with directing. Um, but there are, I have witnessed other director duos, that are very delineated, and they're like, one is the writer, one's the actor, and they they don't cross. But yeah, and it was funny when we did Wick. We had started our own, we were already sort of on our own second unit directing paths. Like we hadn't co-directed in a couple of years of second unit. And so we came back together and we were already more like independent filmmakers in our own right when we were there. It was fun to get back together, but we didn't, there never really was like, you do this, I'll do that. It was just more like, who's doing that? Go say something. Not like, what do we want to do about this costume?
So from the first film, what in your opinion was logistically the biggest challenge? Like what sequence or what part of that do you think maybe when you were filming it, I don't know if this is going to work, or maybe there's something that we're not going to be able to do? Was there one that stands out as being the biggest challenge?
Hmm. I think the box was, the small box that we were in gave us a lot of opportunity. and we were when you're making something for the price that we made it for, like sub 20, like I mean actually sub 15, like no one's watching. So I think that yes, we had to cram it into, like, I can't remember the schedule. It might have been like 40 some days, maybe less. I don't know, 37 days. I don't remember, but we had no one watching us, so we could really be independent in our decision making process, and that was super helpful. But it was also a real challenge. We had just come from big second units where we had double that money for a 4-week second unit,
Mm.
and we are trying to tell a whole narrative in New York on a shoestring budget. So I think the days and the resources were the hardest part, but it was also limiting. You know.
And so looking back, with your relationship with Chad and with Keanu and having known each other for this decade that this has been out there, do the three of you ever kind of talk with
Mm-hmm.
each other and just reflect back and go, man, I can't believe how much has changed over this 10 years?
A commercial with Keanu for a cyber company. So we spent like 4 days together on set, and it was really fun and nostalgic to reflect on, like, John Wick's impact on the world. And our relationship with Keanu goes way back to the Matrix days. We were both stunt performers on the sequels. Chad was on the original one as well. And so we think of our journey with as friends. It spans, now three parts of 3 decades. And yeah, and being involved in these influential franchises has been really amazing.
And last question for you. There's so much obviously craftsmanship that's gone into the John Wick films and then all of the films you've made since then. Do you feel like we're at the point now where we really need recognition, like an Oscar for the stunt performers that do this amazing work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's undeniable, and it's completely time. And I think the awareness, I personally have been working with um, the stunt community inside the academy with Jack Gill and several others inside the academy the last 3 years. And we have gotten so much traction inside, and there's a lot of love for it. Even the presentation on the Oscars last year was
Yeah.
something that my wife Kelly and I produced for the Oscars, and so it's an acknowledgement that they want it. We're just getting through the bureaucracy and the proper channels inside, and it is hard getting the votes before the term limits turn over. And but I think we have a real shot of it happening um, soon. We'll see.
Awesome. Well, I
It's
really
totally time.
appreciate
Yeah.
it is. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Happy anniversary on the film and hope we talk again soon.
Cool. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Awesome. So, big fan of the series, loved it from the very beginning, and I have nothing but respect for this film as being kind of like a watershed moment in film and action, especially. Like, I think back how The Matrix was obviously a game changer and it introduced so much. This film, it felt like it almost came out of nowhere because action just for the longest time felt like the same thing over and over again. And now, for the last 10 years, every review that I read or that a lot of times I write, it's like it's John Wick-esque action or it feels like it's derivative. Do you take that as a compliment or do you feel like now you feel like you have to step up the game with what comes next?
It's pretty weird, man. Like, of course, like, if you wrote an article and then everybody started talking, this is an Alex Media article. Oh my God. It's like, you kind of talk a little shit, but at the same time, you're pretty flattered. You're like, okay, like, I remember I've had the privilege of being on a couple great franchises, not that objective, but like with The Matrix and The Crow and 300 and a few other, Guy Ritchie on Sherlock Holmes. I've been very lucky. Stallone on The Expendables. There's been some good Mangold on Wolverine. Like just work for good people. So when somebody wants more of what you did and it's your idea, of course, it's so flattering. Like it's cool. Um, it doesn't really put any more burden or like stress on Keanu and I to be better or anything like that. Um, Creatively, it's always challenging. Like we've never gone on any of the sequels of the John Wicks gone, we've already done that. It's not John Wick. We've just had fun and lived within the world that we created. Like, if we only stuck to gun fu, we never would have got Donnie Yen or Scott Adkins. Like, we would have done dogs or cars. Like, we're in on the gag. Like, the choreography it's an aesthetic, but it's also um Keanu and myself, like we're in our late 50s going, like he just turned 60. So, we're not doing jump spin hook kicks on wires. We're trying to create stuff that's still fun and actionable and cool to watch with a great vibe for us. But that's never stopped us from mixing, Scott Adkins or um, Mark Dacascos or any of these great other martial art guys that come in. We want to have fun. So while it is very flattering, we're always trying to do a little bit better and best ourselves. And to your point, when the first Born came out, no one thought that was pro for it. Like they liked the shaky cam, and it was intense little close quarter choreography with shaky cam and fast editing, and it gave it a little impetus and it changed the vibe. It just, unfortunately, like Doug Lyman and Paul Greengrass, they did it very effectively. They did it to infuse what was already good. Matt Damon and the great choreography, and I think Matt did an amazing job with the stunt teams on that. It's what happened afterwards. It's when everyone else tried to do shaky cam and all that stuff without having the skill or the input. They rather than trying to enhance something great already on camera, most people use it as a way out or to hide things or to not do such a good job on camera and infuse something that wasn't there to begin with. So like in John Wick, like we have an aesthetic, we tried it, and it's pretty cool when everybody does it. Now the ones that will pull it off successfully are the ones that get why we do it because it's dance like and because they put the skill and the training into the cast or the camera teams and stuff and done it. Some that don't pull it off, you know, oh well, good luck. Better next time. But like, look, if that became the norm, then yeah, then it's up to either us or other stunt teams or directors out there. Like, we're always looking for what's next. Like the coolest thing would be, hopefully somebody from our camp directs and comes up with the next new thing or does action in a way that you're talking to them going, for years it was John Wick, but then you guys came around as amazing. And that way I'd go back and go, that was pretty good. And it would be up to us to top it again. I mean, all the stuff we pulled from wasn't groundbreaking, I came from 30 years of watching Zatoichis and Wuxia films and Donnie Yen and Jet Li and Yuen Wu Ping and Zhang Yimou and um, Wong Kar Wai and Kurosawa and everybody else, and from Clint Eastwood movies to Tarantino to all the great stuff that the Bournes did. Like we were motivated for them and came up with this, and but like there's nothing new. We've just done it in an interesting mix, right? So hopefully the next group that comes up, they'll do something really cool that'll motivate us.
And do you think that it is the fact that Keanu kind of put himself in there along with all the stunt professionals and really kind of put himself as part of it so it doesn't, with Roadhouse coming out earlier this year, it was all the controversy about the CGI being added onto the faces of the stunt guys so it looked like the actor. Do you think the authenticity of Keanu kind of putting himself in there really elevated this film?
Um, well, let me preface that by saying, look, there's how you make a movie, and then there's the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, 100% truth. In my mind, I don't, the technique is irrelevant to me as long as I get what's in my head on screen to the audience. If that requires AI, CGI, okay, as long as I'm kind of fooling you to stay in the movie or to keep you in it, that's great. In order to get a cool performance or a great performance, sometimes the best stunt person in the world will give you that physical trait of, wow, look at that. And sometimes we're going for the wow factor. Sometimes, if it's not the world's best trick, sometimes you just need the believability of the scene to continue. And sometimes, even some of the best stunt acrobat performers may not be able to give that because that's not their forte. So you have to realize as a director, how do I get what's in my head? And if I want not just believable action, but if I want you to keep you in with the character, I want the character to be involved, and there's nobody better at the character than Keanu.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, if you reverse engineer out what you want, look, Keanu, neither one of us is opposed to using a double, but you have to know exactly, like if you're using a double because you didn't put the time, money, or effort into getting your cast to do certain sequences, okay, I think that's not the most optimal way. If by keeping my cast in the action or in the dialogue or in the car chase or in the love scene is the most effective way to get the feeling I want, that's what we're going to do. And we just felt in action the best way to get that vulnerability, that empathy, what we're looking for in John Wick, because it's not just an action movie, it's meant to feel bad for John, is to keep Keanu as much as possible and see Keanu suffer as John Wick, as the character is suffering. And that was a decision we made pretty early. Does that make sense to you? I hope that answered you.
Oh yeah, totally. And to your
Keanu
point
was
there.
into that. He wanted to be in. Keanu sees an action sequence like a dialogue sequence. He doesn't think there's any different.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't have somebody come in and do his dialogue, would you? He's like,
No, of
well,
course not.
like
Right.
when literally 3/4 of the movie is action. Do you want to double doing that, or you want like? There's a lot of acting in the action that you won't get to do. We want Keanu to be doing.
And you kind of said like, the image, the visual that you're trying to get out as a director. Is there anything that maybe didn't make it into the first movie that you said, okay, well, we'll have to do this in the sequel, and then maybe that just kept getting pushed, and out of all the films that you just did not get to do, that maybe you're still visualizing this has to be a John Wick sequence at some point?
Yeah, you see the stack of papers on either side here.
Yeah.
That's either the scripts we didn't get to make or the ideas we haven't used yet. So we got lots. Um, whether it's set pieces, choreography, character moments, or characters we just couldn't squeeze into the John Wicks. That's what we got so excited about when the studio came to us and offered us the opportunity to do a full length anime feature of the
Mm-hmm.
prequel of John Wick, which we're going to do, and a new John Wick TV series about what happens after John Wick 4 with hopefully they'll be announcing who's that's with soon. Um, that gives us to use all these ideas we didn't get to put in the streamlined movies into another way to express what we really want to do with the John Wick universe. So that's pretty cool. I think Keanu's pretty happy because he doesn't have to do 5 months of training for the anime.
That would be definitely a saving grace.
But yeah, man, there's a ton of ideas. There's a tons of stuff we didn't get to do. You have 2 hours to really make a difference, and sometimes things have to fall by the wayside to make room for the story.
And the question that I've always wondered, and I don't think I've ever seen it actually answered anywhere, but out of all the films, 3 is the only one that has a subtitle. Was there a reason why that was the only one that got that?
Yeah. Um, 4 was supposed to have one. 4 had a really cool one.
Oh, really?
The movie was originally titled John Wick 4. I don't know if I ever told anybody this. I think I might have said it once before. The name of the movie was originally on all our working drafts, and the whole theme behind the movie, where we started, the very first thing I wrote down before we started John Wick 4 was Hagakure. It's a title of a small Japanese treatise on samurai etiquette.
Hmm.
It's a rough, really loose translation to hidden leaves, or the sound leaves make when you sweep them, shh, shh, which means like a secret. In I'm going to slaughter this. You'll have to back me up with true Japanese translation. But it was this samurai code of ethics, code of etiquette, which the slang term kind of meant the way we take it, our interpretation of what it really meant back in the day was if you're a soldier and I'm a soldier, we can understand each other. Even if we're on different sides, there's an understanding. Only a warrior can truly know a warrior. Only a police officer knows a police officer. Only a writer can understand the process of writing. It's that bonding that happens whether you're on the same side or opposite sides. There's the code, right? We thought that was super fucking cool because of the story between Donnie Yen and the tracker. And they, even though they're on opposite sides, they all kind of understood the life. And that's how we were going as John Wick chapter 4, Hagakure, hidden secrets, blah, blah, the whole thing. And then as we were right up to it, almost finishing locking the film. And then our international, or the studio's international people came back and said, hey, and Japan is one of our bigger markets. And we didn't know, but the treatise actually had been used, as really what they told us. The term, or the treatise for the book had been used as a propaganda thing during World War II for some of the kamikaze pilots. And in some parts of Japan in the older generation, it's considered a little uh, edgy, we'll just say.
Mm.
And they didn't want to risk what the marketing is. So like we were kind of bummed. And like, you know, your initial thing as director, well, is like, you know, okay, you know, but like you have to be respectful to all the stuff. And like we're not here to offend. We're not here to try and, you know, bend kind of thing. So I think the samurai-esque or the etiquette themes came across good. It didn't affect us. You know, I caught a lot of shit in the press because like a lot of reviewers and critics and writers like yourself, we're like, oh, what? White Dogs. I hate it when they only name one. It was never our intent. We kind of had all this stuff planned out for the chapters. But again, we're trying to be cool guys to our partners overseas and stuff. So yeah, I'll take the blame for that one. But like it was a cool title, we thought. If you look at the crew shirts and the crew sweatshirts, it already that's why all our shit is fine. Like all our crew stuff or still has the original name.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
That's how deep down
Well,
the road we were at it, you know.
I mean, it's such a great film, and I really appreciate talking to you today, and I can't wait to see what comes next. And congratulations again and happy anniversary.
That's very nice to you, man. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. If there's anything else, just call David, man. Happy to talk to you.